It right now. All right. It says we are live. It right now. And I believe we are. Let me send out the link to everybody. And then we'll be super cool and ready to fucking get after it. Copy link address. All right, everybody, if you're here already, just give me a hot second and then we'll be on the air.
Dude, Yeti made these new, they're like clear.
Let me see it. Oh, like those old like camelbacks, kind of.
It's weird because it's made out of plastic, but I don't know if it's placebo or what, but I feel like it actually does keep my drink cold.
Really? Maybe it's just
Even though
the
it's not
the
metal.
fucking Yeti effect.
Yeah, it may very well be.
The Yeti effect is big time when I'm wearing or when I'm holding on to like a Yeti koozie. For some reason, my drink stays cold for like 3 hours when like it probably actually didn't. It's just like the fact that I have a Yeti in my hand.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So the link should be out for everybody. So welcome to episode 3 of season 3 of the Halt. Thank you guys for hopping on here. Again, we're doing kind of a midweek episode where we just talk about shit that's happening, and then we can answer your guys' questions, and really kind of just dive into stuff as it happens. Tony's got to drive 17 hours tomorrow, so wish him luck on that one.
Not looking forward to that
My goodness, dude. And you're going to
at
have
all.
2 dogs in the car, too?
Yeah, 10-week-old puppy. And
Holy shit, bro.
yeah,
You're going
not
to
gonna be
need,
fun.
like, I don't know, 8 monsters,
I'm gonna need to
14 Red Bulls.
I'm gonna need some Benadryl for them or something.
Yeah, you should get them to, I think you can get, what are they? Like at PetSmart, they have like sleeping pills for dogs or whatever. We used to get
Yeah,
that for my dog because we used to drive like from Colorado to Iowa quite a bit.
yeah.
Without
That's what I
that,
need.
it would just be like in the back seat the entire time. And you'd take her out to go to the bathroom, and then she wouldn't actually go. And then 30 minutes later, she'd be doing it again.
The problem too is like if I gotta like go to the bathroom myself, like I have to leave them in the car. Like I
Yeah,
can't take them into the bathroom.
you better pinch that loaf off quick.
Y- Yeah,
Better fucking get in and
it's
get out.
it's gonna be it's legitimately it's like 17 hours and 1 minute to drive there with, and that's just no stops.
Jeez, bro.
So I mean it literally turns into a 20-hour drive or more.
Rest in peace with that one. Holy crap. I know we have quite a few topics to talk about tonight in a little bit of a shorter time frame than last week. Um, we wanted to talk about Trump election possibilities, how that might impact the market. We wanted to talk about, Tesla because I made a video on Tesla today and I learned a little bit about Elon Musk's leveraging of Tesla for the Twitter deal. I wanted to go over the chart of GameStop and AMC, and then maybe we can also talk about the Fed pivot and how that's impacted things in the past. First off, though, man, what do you think about Trump running for re-election? Not from like a political stance, but like market stance. How does that make you feel?
Um, yeah, we touched on this earlier. I think that you know, down the road, if he is reelected, obviously that would be pretty big for the market. Now, who knows where the market will be around that time? Um, but I think just the fact that I'm pretty sure it's official, right? That he announced that he
Yep.
will be running.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, I like I said, it's weird because that's in however long. So who knows where the market will be at that point in time. But um, you know, the market's been the market's been essentially in an overall downtrend since December of last year. So we're coming up on a year. Um, I did want to touch on, where SPY currently stands, but I do want to get your thoughts on the whole Trump thing. I do think, overall it'd be great for the market. Um, but again, that's down the road. So
Yeah. My opinion on Trump in the market. First off, like Trump's a human boner. Everyone knows that. Like the dude should have gotten his face kicked in a few more times when he was a kid, just because he's like an asshole for no reason at a lot of times. But market wise, like the guy's gonna pump the market. So I don't think we can be mad if from a market perspective, if he gets reelected, he's gonna say the most outlandish stuff to get the market to keep pumping, no matter what. So if he gets reelected, from a long term perspective, it's probably just another drop in the bucket of, because a lot of the people who watch this are under 50 years of age. So like the president in 2 years and 6 years down the line, a lot of us are still going to be holding positions through that. But overall, I think he'd be fine for the market. I don't know if it would be much different than if Biden got reelected, or right now, because a lot of what we're doing right now is we're just correcting a correction that had to happen. Like we're just basically this pullback, this recession, whatever you guys want to call it, definitely had to happen. Textbook, it's a recession, but we were kind of overinflated heavily, just from that recovery from COVID, and then also just over the years we'd kind of been on too steep of an incline. So the fact that we're getting this now, I think it's going to happen regardless of who's the president, but I also think we're going to come out of it regardless of who's the president. So I think, a few years down the line, Trump comes in and starts pushing things a little bit heavier than Biden is right now on the economic front, then I think that might be good for us. A few years down the line, if Biden finally gets the Fed to work the way that they need to, or if Biden finally aligns with what the Fed needs from him, and the market turns around, I think it's good too. I don't really know if there's a president that could yank us out of this right now. So yeah, I think it's pretty kind of 50-50 on what would happen either way. I think Biden, Trump, DeSantis, whoever it's going to be, it'd probably end up in similar areas. I think the Fed has more of an impact on anything than the president.
I just can't. I mean, this is completely non like political because I've mentioned in the past that I'm very just I am you know I don't have strong political opinions either way. I know everybody says that you should you know feel a certain type of way or back a certain party or but I've kind of always been like that. Um, I see arguments for both sides when it comes to policy and stuff, but I'm talking just from a standpoint of neutrality. When you look at somebody like Biden and just how out of touch he seems, like, and it's almost sad. It's almost like you can just tell he's just not there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's concerning when you have somebody like that running the country. Now I know he doesn't make, I know he's just the face of, he doesn't make that many decisions. But still, it almost feels like, he's just there and he's not actually there, and it's honestly concerning because it kind of makes the country as a whole look, I guess, weak, quote unquote, especially in the times we're going through now with the Russia and Ukraine stuff that's still ongoing. And I just don't see a world where he gets reelected.
It'd be
um
tough. It'd be super
but
tough.
again, that's coming from somebody that's like very neutral and not not very educated politically, so um,
Yeah. I think like kind of to talk on it just a little bit more from like a light perspective. We were talking in the Discord, and we said they should have to run a mile and like read a chapter of like a college level book fluently, or just like speak in full sentences consistently. So I think they should definitely do some shit where it has to basically, do some hoops to jump through. Like, don't be 80 years of age. I'm tired of having 80-year-olds as our president. Like, somebody just a little bit younger. That'd be real fucking nice for once. Um,
yeah.
the one thing I did, I just brought it up onto the screen. I'll just pull it over from my other screen so everyone can see it. Um, Sorry, Tony, you're going to be covered up for a minute here.
Oh, you're good.
But, oh, you can't even see it then.
I can see it on stream.
Oh, you can see it on stream? Okay, so the majority of the decline in bear market recessions have occurred after the Fed pivoted, and it seems like the Fed is on their way to fully pivoting. So if you guys can check out this graphic that we got up on the screen here, every single time the Fed has pivoted, there's been an over 30% drop after the pivot in the markets. And if you're thinking about SPY right now, that would take us from about the 380 that we are to below 300. It would be astronomical if we were to drop 30+% moving forward. And the Fed is on their way to a pivot as we speak. What do you think, Tony? What are you thinking about the possibility, technical wise, of that lining up with this pivot? If the pivot lines up and then the technicals of SPY also line up to possibly be bearish, we could be in for quite the next year, the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, so I did want to talk about SPY technically, from a technical standpoint, just looking at SPY, like scanning through various time frames. Starting with the weekly. If we look at the weekly, like I mentioned earlier, we've been in a downtrend essentially since December of last year. Now, from that point to where we are now, um, we've created this big channel, where we've now rejected off that upper trend line, about 3 or 4 times. Once off from the 28th of March, another the 15th of August, and we are getting dangerously close once again to that upper trend line, which if we do test that again, it would be somewhere within the ballpark, between around, I'd say, 407 to 410. Um, if we do test that upper trend line again, I would expect at least a short-term rejection. Now, looking at the weekly and where we currently stand, we also, I mean, it is Wednesday, so we do have Thursday and Friday of this week, to see where we end up. But if we close this weekly candle in this inverse hammer that we've closed, we had another one the 15th of August. We had one from that 28th of March where we rejected that upper trend line. Every time we seem to get one of these inverse hammers, we see a pretty decent size rejection. The last one was from 415 all the way down to below 350. If we do close that weekly and it is an inverse hammer, or we do test that upper trend line, I would expect a pretty decent size rejection. On a larger time frame like the weekly, we're continuously setting lower highs, in this channel. If we were to break out of this, you would first want to look for something like that weekly 50 and that upper trend line, which are sitting around 415. A break of that and that thesis is kind of invalidated. But just looking at it technically, I think, and with what you're saying about the Fed, I would not be surprised in the least bit, if we push towards that 350 level where we have a pretty important demand zone. It's also where our weekly 200s are. So just from a technical standpoint, we're also, if we go to the yearly, or not the yearly, the daily rather, we rejected that daily 200, um, which is pushing us further down as well. So I would not be surprised if we, push lower, depending on how that weekly closes this week. If we push down back into that 350 area, and retest potentially that lower trend line of this channel we've been in for almost a year now. So technically, that's kind of what I'm looking at. One more thing to note is this weekly candle is extremely low volume compared to the previous how many weekly candles. Like I said, we still have tomorrow and Friday, but it is pretty low volume. And if you traded today, or attempted to trade today, I should say, you saw how stagnant we were. We basically just ranged all day. I think a lot of people are interested to see the direction we're headed in, because we are at a critical point on our higher time frames. So just from a technical standpoint, I think, you know, you should not be surprised, is basically what I'm saying, is you should not be surprised if we revisit 350. And you also have kind of the bull case to look out for if we do break above that upper trend line. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so for me, I agree, and I also think that this August 8th and August 15th candle combination that resulted in the drawdown to new lows looks eerily similar to this candle that we have today, which is this week's candle, and then last week's candle. It's a green candle with a decent body on it, followed by a gap down to start the week, and then a push up, which results in that top upper wick, and then a drawdown to end the week. So like a big green candle followed by a small red candle, and it seems like it's possibly going to be the beginning of what might be a test of this 200 yet again. And the biggest thing to note for me as well is the fact that fundamentals of the Fed pivoting possibly could be lining up here with the technicals of SPY coming up and testing this upper trend line, which is really nasty. As in, when things line up like that, then it's usually a terrible sign for what's to come. If you're a bull, if you're a bear, I mean, you're probably going to get paid pretty well. I know some people with some longer dated puts. So for SPY right now, it's kind of bull heavy, or bear heavy, sorry. But one thing I did want to talk about, Tony, is GME and AMC. I've been the ape hater for the longest time. I think it's the stupidest shit ever from Reddit in those days. Even though we interviewed the the creator of Wall Street Bets, but you got to check these charts out, man. First off, the GameStop daily does not look great, but this thing is like it. I was interested in it first off because this break of this super key level happened, and then it immediately sucked right back up and is now above the 20 and the 50 on the daily. I don't know how that happened because it broke beneath, what was it, about $24 was the super key level, and then just somehow the next day, gapped up and then just completely ran. So it was almost like it broke support and then went nuts for some reason. But then AMC is the one that I actually really liked, and we're gonna get your opinion right after this, but I actually really liked this AMC setup, as in, the pullback, but then these wicks on the bottom side are pretty nice, especially after two big green candles like this. And it could also be coming down to, retest these topping areas. And I don't think it's, to say this is like reversal of some sort, because we saw something like that back here where it was, a couple green candles and then a little flag and then it died. But with both of them looking decent, like there's a chance that AMC and GME get a little run here, because we also know when the market is going down, people look to push things outside of small caps and stuff, and they look towards these types of things that could be short squeezes, that sort of stuff that I've called bullshit in the past. But these charts actually look decent. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking at the daily on both. They both do look pretty good. AMC in particular, I think, is the better looking of the two.
I would agree.
If you can, so you're retesting or retested, I should say, that daily 50 moving average today and got a really nice bounce off of that. We're almost able to close green. You have the daily 200 sitting around 925 to about 980 on both daily 200s, the EMA and just standard moving average. If you were able to break those, I mean, there's a ton of room on this chart. These supply zones date all the way back to the middle of the summer, so I would doubt they held up. But AMC does look really good. I think GME looks good too. Same deal. They're both, below their daily 200s, and that's kind of that big resistance area that you would need to get over. One thing to look at is with GME, you have a gigantic supply zone from the 31st of October, and those 200s are sitting right below that. So if you were to approach that level, I would almost guarantee some sort of rejection. I hate to say the word guarantee when it comes to the stock market, but that looks like a extremely key resistance area that you would almost certainly see some rejection off of. Another thing I wanted to touch on quick, and I know we've touched on it here in a prior episode, but I'm still watching Amazon very closely. I know you've been as well, but we constantly are getting, questions on long-term ads, what we like, what we're considering adding long-term. Amazon this week has back-tested and rejected its weekly 9, and if it pushes lower this week, I would not be surprised if it breaks the low from last week. If it does break the low on that, I would be actively looking to take a starter in this long term. That's not financial advice. That's just me personally. I will personally be looking to take a starter in Amazon. So that's something else to consider, and just something I wanted to talk about quickly.
Look at this 104 level.
On
It's
Amazon.
yeah, on the daily. Like this was where it gapped below it on
Yeah.
the day after earnings, and then came up, got rejected 2 days in a row at that level, and then just got rejected super hard there yesterday. Like that is a
Yeah, flip that
huge
zone.
rejection. Yeah,
Hmm.
crazy,
And
crazy zone. And yeah, you can see back here where it was support and stuff.
yeah.
That brings us to another long term name. I just made a YouTube video about this today, but Tesla, I wanted to talk about the weekly here from a technical perspective because if you're checking out the weekly here on Tesla, to me, this looks like, not the cleanest head and shoulders, but it looks like a super clean head and shoulders. You know, Probably like a 7 out of 10 on that. It's not perfect, but it's there. And then it's also testing this crazy supply zone that was, a long time ago, in March of 2021, but it's also a key zone because there's nothing left. So it would have, if it breaks that, it's definitely seeing the 200, which is another 10% move down. And if it sees the 200 and breaks the 200, like what is there down here? And then
Yep.
it's a head and shoulders. Is the head and shoulders playing out? Could SPY, possibly yank this down too? Is Tesla just possibly? Is this the beginning of the great recorrection for Tesla here? Like, what is? I don't know. What do you think of that chart right there?
Yeah, I know I think we talked about Tesla last episode. It's pushed through that weekly 200. I have my just standard 200-day moving average sitting around like 1615. That's probably the last little area of support left outside of just psych levels.
Yeah.
Um, that candle from last week is also the most volume that Tesla has had since um, the very end of January. Um, so I would not be surprised if we push all the way through the bottom of that zone to end this week. Um, but the thing with Tesla is, me personally, I don't prefer Tesla. Um, but if you're somebody that's interested in Tesla, it's something you've wanted to add long term. You have to look at it technically and think, okay, it's getting to that point where it may not be a bad idea to, you know, visit a potential starter in something like this. Same deal with Amazon. When something is so beaten down and so low and it only has psych levels as support, the only thing you have to consider is that it's just going to be almost a guessing game in terms of, okay, where's the bottom on this, because nobody knows. So you have to take an approach of, I'm going to add this in increments, because if you don't, and if you go tomorrow and you add a full position and it just continues to go lower and lower, it could be months or years until it reaches the level that you added. So it's
Yeah,
just something to keep in mind.
I agree.
But technically, it's really getting to that point where you could probably consider taking a position.
In my opinion, is Tesla long term is going to be fucking great. It's going to be awesome. Um, I have a bunch of reasons why it's going to be good long term in the video that I made today, but for the most part, right now, technically, this looks like it needs some downside to me, and I'll highlight the areas I think would be great ad zones. The first one being probably somewhere in about right about 160. I think if you're gonna look to add long term, which I said personally for me, I would wait to add this until this zone down here, which is about 110. But that's a big drop for Tesla, and it's mainly due to the financials of it that I want to see this drop financials, but then add on this weekly Head and Shoulders. And personally, I was thinking 110 would be great for me to add long term the first leg. But if you're a Tesla truther, then you might possibly be thinking more towards this 160 level for the first leg, maybe the second leg, somewhere in this zone here that's proven to be pretty strong. So like 160 and then 135 and then 110 right after that. And then maybe directly after that it'll be like 95. Those might be your four ads, and if those are your four ads, then you're not in a bad spot here, because you have quite a bit of room to average down. You end up with an average somewhere in between 135 and 110, probably like 125, something like that. But this Head and Shoulders probably needs to play out a little bit more, and that's why for me personally, I said about 110 would be my beginning ads on this. And also considering the Fed beginning to pivot, the fact that we're in a recession, we want to be very, very, cognizant of the market and be very, very safe with our long-term stuff. So we're going to, be as picky with our entries as possible on this kind of stuff. This is the time of the episode where we want to ask you guys, drop a like on here. Thank you guys for being here. We have, live viewers here, so thanks for hopping on here. Drop us a like, and then also drop us a question. We want to help you guys out. So in the chat, drop a question, drop a ticker that you want to, see a chart of, and me and Tony will pull up the chart and we'll talk about it. We have a few things in the chat that we can talk about real quick. It says, this is old Tim. He says, realistically, in a couple of years, Tesla will be leading EVs over Ford. Will Ford take the lead for EVs? What do you think, Tony, on that? Ford taking the lead over Tesla on electric vehicles.
I think in terms of like manufacturing power and, if we are shifting towards all electric vehicles, I know certain states are already implementing, they want to be all electric by this year. Do I think Ford will overtake Tesla? I think so, just because they have how many, models of, vehicles they manufacture, and the means to do so. So if we're just talking production numbers, yeah, I think Ford would overtake Tesla for sure.
Yeah, I think you know, for me, it's gonna be a really fuck. It's gonna be dependent on whether or not Tesla can up their reliability numbers. I think those are really big. Their cars are, kind of proving not to be the most reliable, and honestly, there's a lot of issues with them, and it's coming out. And I think if say Toyota comes out with something crazy within the next few years, or say Honda comes out with something crazy, it could be any of them. To be completely fair, like something that is just like the fucking Honda Accord of EVs, or maybe Tesla does have the Honda Accord of EVs, or the Toyota Camry or Toyota Corolla, because those are the types of cars that people buy multiple times in their lifetime because they know that they're not going to let them down. So if that is Tesla, just for electric vehicles, maybe the Tesla Model S is that. Then maybe they'll keep their spot up top. But for me, I feel like someone else is going to do it. That's just my opinion. I think someone else probably takes over, and I think it could be Honda. I know Milo's a big Volkswagen guy, but I'm thinking it'll be like Honda, Toyota, possibly even if Ford or GM can come out with something crazy. We have another. It says, "Is it time to add AMD to the portfolio now, especially over Nvidia?" I know you're an AMD guy, Tony. What are you feeling on that?
I actually have Nvidia up right now. I'll pull AMD up.
Let me pull AMD up. We got about 5 minutes left, guys, so we're gonna try to bust through these final few questions.
You guys know I look at everything from a technical standpoint. So, if we're, viewing AMD from a technical standpoint, we've been, I mean, AMD's been extremely, extremely beaten down. And we've created this trend line from the 7th of February where we've interacted with it, 3 or 4 times. The last rejection we dropped from 104 all the way down to 54, so a 50-point drop. From a technical standpoint, I don't think that, we're, or I should say, I do think that, AMD will continue lower, especially looking at the weekly. If we, close this weekly candle red, and confirm back under those weekly 200s, I would not be surprised if we, work our way back down to around the low from the beginning of October. I know a lot of people in my Discord love AMD, and we're looking at some long-term ads on AMD. And I came out with a little thesis a few months ago on AMD. And I do love AMD around, $50, $60. To think that, even around this level now, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a starter in something like this. And like we say, even if it works its way all the way down to say it drops, to $30. If you're adding this incrementally, I don't think this is a bad area to consider something like this long term. It's extremely beaten down. I do think it's going to go lower, but I don't think you can really go wrong, taking a starter around 50, $60.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said there. Tim says, long term, you think Ford would be a better investment in your opinion? I think so, personally. That's my opinion on that one. JFT says, what do you think about XBI daily? Possible for some inverse head and shoulders. JFT, the one thing I can say about XBI on the daily, not even the daily, just fundamentally, is yes, I am feeling long on XBI. Maybe not right now, as the market I feel like might take a downturn, but I do think bio will come back, and the fact that bio is down from what is it? Is it 200? No, it's 175 all the way to $80. It's going to make for a nice comeback when the market does turn around. But we have some time until that, so don't average in as of right now. Maybe wait, months, see how the Fed pivot goes, that kind of thing, because we are in unprecedented territory. We had the market, crash of 2020, and now we're having the Fed have to pivot in 2022. So we're in an area that, we don't know what's going to happen. And XBI could tank, XBI could run completely. So I think we just give the market some time. And then when the market starts to heat up, I think bios are going to heat up as well. So I think it'll be good time to add XBI. It's just going to take maybe a few months. That's about it on that one. I think a few months of waiting and just watching would probably do well. Do we have any other last minute questions here?
XLE thoughts.
XLE. Let me pull that one up.
I was looking at that, Michael, and that I agree with you. This looks primed
Looks
for
strong.
a short. Yeah, it again, it's gonna depend, where does the weekly close? The
Yeah.
last time the weekly closed in an inverse hammer like that, we saw an extreme drop. So I would agree it looks very overextended. We've seen decreasing volume now the last 2 3 weekly candles, so I would have to agree. I think this kind of looks primed for a short.
Yep. I think there's a real big possibility of this creating like a double top in a new zone here. And then it definitely has room down to about $84 for sure. And then after that, I mean, then it's got the 200 below, but I think it's overextended, like you guys said, for sure here. All right, we're about to run out of time here on the call, and Tony's got to get ready for his big drive tomorrow. But
Yeah, I gotta run, guys.
yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, Tony. I mean, thanks for another awesome week of season three.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and sorry we had to cut it short, but I do have to run, so
Yeah,
thanks everybody that tuned in.
yep, sounds good, man.